Bright Bill was a flying fanatic, and his favorite place to fly was up on the grassy ridge. The robot and the gosling liked to spend afternoons up there, working on the finer points of flying. And it was on one such afternoon that they noticed something mysterious far out at sea. Bright Bill spiraled down to his mother, flopped onto the grass, and pointed to the horizon. "Mama, what is that thing?" Roz's computer brain found the right word. "That is a ship." "What's a ship?" "A ship is a large vessel used for ocean transport." Bright Bill's face scrunched up with confusion. "Used by who?" "I don't know." It was the first ship either of them had laid eyes on. From that distance, it looked as though it were moving slowly, but it was actually racing through the waves. From that distance, it looked as though it were small, but it was actually one of the largest ships ever built. The robot and the gosling watched it crawl across the ocean until it finally disappeared to the south. Where did the ship come from? Where was it going? Who was on board? Roz and Bright Bill had many questions, but no answers. On clear summer days, Roz and Bright Bill and Chit Chat liked to go exploring. They investigated the island's sandy southern point. They marveled at the rainbows that curved up from the waterfall. They surveyed the forest from the branches of tall trees. They met new friendly creatures, and sometimes they met new unfriendly creatures. But the only creatures they had to worry about were the bears. One time, they came up upon a bear fishing in the river, and Roz whispered, "You know what to do." Bright Bill flew up and away, Chit Chat scurried home through the treetops, and Roz melted into the landscape as only she could. Later they met back at the nest and told the neighbors all about their brush with danger. On dreary summer days, they would stay inside. Roz asked Bright Bill and Chit Chat about dreaming and about flying and about eating and about all the things that they could do that she could not. But the younger had too much energy to sit still for very long. They spent one drizzly afternoon kicking acorns around the nest. Chit Chat piled them up, and then Bright Bill swung his big foot, and the acorns went flying. The little friends chased the acorns as they bounced and rolled and spun across the floor. Then they made a new pile and kicked them again. Sometimes an acorn would bounce off Roz's body, clang, and everyone would laugh and giggle together. Even Roz laughed. On clear summer evenings, they would sit outside and watch fireflies twinkling around the pool. Then they'd lie back and gaze up at the darkening sky. "That big circle is the moon," said Chit Chat, "and those little lights are called stars, and one time I tried to count them all, but I could only count to 10, so I just kept counting to 10 over and over again, and I have no idea how many stars there are, but I know it's more than 10. "They're not all stars," said Roz. "Some of them are planets." "What's a planet?" said Chit Chat. "A planet is a celestial body orbiting a star." "What does celestial mean?" "Celestial means something that is in outer space." "What's outer space?" "Outer space is the universe outside the atmosphere of our planet." "What's the universe?" "The universe is everything and everywhere." "So the universe is our island?" None of them could really ever understand the universe, including Roz. Her computer brain knew only so much. She could talk about the Earth and the sun and the moon and the planets and a few stars and not much else. The night sky was full of streaking, shimmering, and blinking lights that she simply couldn't identify. Clearly, Roz was not designed to be an astronomer. On dreary summer mornings, Roz and Bright Bill would curl up together, just the two of them. And on dreary summer evenings, Roz and Bright Bill would curl up together, just the two of them, and listen to the rain pattering on the roof of the nest. The robot would tell stories of annoying pine cones and terrible storms and camouflaged insects, but the sound of the rain always made Bright Bill sleepy, and he'd be out before his mother could even finish a story. It was a sweltering afternoon, and the heat had put everyone in a bad mood. Roz was standing in the shade, watching her son out on the water. The other goslings were teasing him about something when they suddenly burst into laughter, and Bright Bill turned and hurried home with a stormy expression on his face. He stomped into the garden, right past his mother, without saying a word. Roz said, "What's wrong, Bright Bill?" as she followed her son into the nest. "Nothing," he squawked. "Leave me alone. Tell me what is wrong." "I don't want to talk about it." "Maybe I can help." "Mama, the other goslings were making fun of me." "What did they say?" "They called you a monster and then laughed at me for having a monster mother." "They should know by now that I'm not a monster. Would you like me to talk to them?" "No, don't do that. That would just make things worse." The robot sat next to her son. "Mama, I know you're a robot, but I don't understand what a robot is." "A robot is a machine. I was not born, I was built." "Who built you?" "I do not know. I do not remember being built. My very first memory is waking up in the northern shore of the island." The gosling said, "Were you smaller back then?" "No, I've always been the same size." Roz looked down at her weathered body. "However, I used to be shiny, like the surface of the pond. I used to stand straighter than I do now, and straighter than a tree trunk. I used to speak a different language. I have not grown bigger, but I have changed very much." The robot wanted to explain things to her son, but the truth was that she understood very little about herself. It was a mystery how she had come to life on the rocky shore. It was a mystery why her computer brain knew certain things, but not other things. She tried to answer Bright Bill's questions, but her answers only left him more confused. "What do you mean you're not alive?" squawked Bright Bill. "It's true," said Roz. "I'm not an animal. I do not eat or breathe, and I'm not alive." "You move and talk and think, Mama. You're definitely alive." It was impossible for such a young goose to understand technical things like computer brains and batteries and machines. The gosling was much better at understanding natural things like islands and forests and parents. Parents. The word suddenly left Bright Bill feeling uneasy. "You're not my real mother, are you?" "There are many kinds of mothers," said the robot. "Some mothers spend their whole lives caring for them. Some lay eggs and immediately abandon them. Some care for the offspring of other mothers. I have tried to act like your mother, but no, I am not your birth mother." "Do you know what happened to my birth mother?" Roz told Bright Bill about that fateful day in spring, about how the rocks had fallen and only one egg had survived, about how she put the egg in a nest and carried it away, and about how she'd watched over the egg until a tiny gosling hatched. Bright Bill listened carefully until she finished. "Should I stop calling you Mama?" said the gosling. "I would still act like your mother, no matter what you call me," said the robot. "I think I'll keep calling you Mama, and I think I'll keep calling you Son. We're a strange family," said Bright Bill with a little smile, "but I kind of like it that way." "Me too," said Roz. It must be hard to have a robot for a mother. I think the hardest part for Bright Bill was all the mystery that surrounded Roz. Where had she come from? What was it like to be a robot? Would she always be like that for him? The questions filled the gosling's mind, and his feelings for his mother swung between love and confusion and anger. I'm sure many of you know what that's like. Roz could sense that Bright Bill was struggling, and so she spent a lot of time talking with him about families and geese and robots. "There are other robots on the island?" said the gosling during one of the talks. He had been sitting beside his mother in the garden, but now stood and faced her. "Yes, there are others on the island," said Roz, "but they are inoperative." "Inoperative?" "For a robot, being inoperative is like being dead." "There are dead robots?" "They are on the northern shore." "I want to see them." "I do not think that is a good idea." "Why not?" "You are still a gosling. You are too young to see dead robots. I will take you to see them when you are older." "Mama, I'm not a gosling anymore," Bright Bill puffed up his chest. "I'm already 4 months old." "I am sorry," said Roz, "but you cannot go." Bright Bill stomped around the garden and squawked, "This isn't fair." "I promise I will take you to see them when you are older," said the robot. "But I want to go now." "Please calm down. You can't even fly. I could take off and you wouldn't be able to stop me." Roz stood, and her long shadow fell across her son. The gosling could feel his emotions swinging wildly, and for a moment he was actually afraid of his own mother. Without thinking, he sprinted towards the pond, beat his wings, and flew away. "Your son will be fine," said Loudwing. "You know how these things are. How they are with age. I do not know, said Roz. Please tell me how they are at this age. Oh, right. Well, Bright Bill is growing up fast. It's only natural for adolescent goslings to be a little moody. He just needs to be alone for a while. You've raised a wonderful son. I know he'll come home soon. Try not to worry. But Roz did worry. At least she worried as much as a robot is capable of worrying. Bright Bill had never run away or flown away, and suddenly Roz was computing all the things that could go wrong. A violent storm, a broken wing, a predator. She had to find her son before something bad happened. There was only one place Bright Bill could have gone, the robot gravesite. So Roz galloped northward. She leaped over rocks and ducked over branches and charged through meadows without even slowing her pace. She raced all the way across the island until she finally stepped onto the sea cliffs above the gravesite. And there was Bright Bill, perched on the ledge, looking at the robot parts scattered on the shore below. His eyes were wet. "Don't be angry," he said as his mother walked over. "I'm not angry, but you should not have flown off like that. You could have gotten hurt, or worse. I was worried sick." "I'm sorry, Mama." "It's okay," said Roz. "It's only natural for goslings your age to be a little moody." "Mama, I need to understand what you are, and I think it might help to see those other robots." "You are right, it might help. Why are you not down there?" "I was about to go," said Bright Bill, "but I got nervous. I want you to go with me." "Let us go down there," said Roz. "Together." The gosling floated on the breeze beside his mother as she climbed down the cliffside. Down they went, past ledges and seagulls, and through the trees until they were standing. They were on the rocky shore with the cliffs looming behind them. The gravesite had changed. Roz's crate was gone, lost to weather or waves. Some of the robot parts were gone, too. Other parts were gritty with sand, or were tangled in seaweed, or were inhabited by small, scuttling creatures. One smashed torso still had a head and legs attached. Roz and Bright Bill huddled around the corpse and studied the mess of tubes spilling out. "This thing used to look like you," said Bright Bill. "Yes, we were the same type of robot," said Roz. "And now this robot is dead?" "In a way." "Will you ever die, Mama?" "I think so." "Will I die?" "All living things die eventually." The gosling's face scrunched with worry. "Bright Bill, you are going to live a long and happy life." Roz laid a hand on her son's back. "You should not worry about death." The gosling's face was relaxed, and then he pointed to a small round shape in the back of the robot's head. "What's that?" he said. Roz leaned in closer. "That is a button, which is a knob on a piece of machinery that can be pressed to operate it." Bright Bill began pressing the button. Click, click, click. Nothing is happening. "Probably because the robot is dead," he said. Click, click, click. "Mama, do you have a button?" Bright Bill watched as his mother's head turned all the way around and a small button came into view. "You've got one," he said. "I've never noticed it before." "Neither did I," said the robot. The gosling giggled. "Oh, Mama, you have so much to learn about yourself." Roz reached for the button on her head, but her hand automatically stopped before she could touch it. She tried with her other hand, but it automatically stopped as well. "It seems I cannot press the button," she said. "Would you like to try?" "What will happen?" said Bright Bill. "I think I will shut down, but I think you could simply press the button again to restart me." "You think?" squawked Bright Bill. "What if you're wrong? What if you wake up different? What if you never wake up? Mama, I don't want to shut you down." Roz turned her head back around and saw Bright Bill's face was again scrunched up with worry. She knelt beside him and said, "Of course you do not have to shut me down. I'm sorry if I scared you. Are you okay?" "I'm okay," Bright Bill sniffed and wiped his eyes. Then he heard splashing. Otters were playing in the ocean. He had never seen otters before. He stared as they swam and dove and sloshed around with one another. They seemed to be having a ridiculous amount of fun, and suddenly the gosling was smiling again. "Hello, my name is Bright Bill," he shouted over the waves. "This is my mama. Her name is Roz." The last time those otters had seen Roz, they had thought she was some kind of monster. But since then, they had heard that she was remarkably friendly, and she'd even adopted an orphan gosling. And so otters smiled at Roz and Bright Bill. Then they swam straight over and splashed onto the rocks. "Hello there," said the biggest otter. "Nice to meet you both. Actually, Roz, we've met once before, but you might not remember me. My name is Shelley." "I do remember you," said the robot, "but I am glad to learn your name, Shelley." "You know each other?" said the gosling. "These otters were the first animals I ever met," said Roz. "They were also the first animals who ever ran away from me." "Yeah, sorry about that," said Shelley, and the other otters sniffed the robot's legs. "You know, Bright Bill, when we first saw your mom, she was packed in a box and surrounded by soft, squishy stuff." Bright Bill's brow furrowed. "You wouldn't believe how small she looked, all folded up in there." Bright Bill's nose sniffled. "We thought she was dead, but when we reached into the box, she came to life and she climbed out looking like a sparkling monster." Bright Bill's eyes welled up with tears, and then he felt his mother scoop him up into her arms. "Are you okay?" she whispered into his ear. "I think I've heard enough about robots for today," he whispered back. "I'm sorry, otters, but we really must be going," said Roz. "I hope I didn't upset the little guy," said Shelley. "I thought he'd like to hear how we first met." "Bright Bill will be fine," said Roz, using a friendly voice, "but we have a very busy day, and we should go home. It was nice to see you again. Goodbye." Roz turned with her long strides and carried her son away from the graveside and over to the base of the sea cliffs. "Would you like to sit on my shoulders as I climb?" said the robot. "I feel like flying," said the gosling. "I will meet you at the top." Bright Bill flapped his wings and disappeared into the sky. Roz began to scale the wall. Up she went, expertly negotiating the rocky columns and ledges until she hoisted herself onto the cliff top, where two young bears were waiting.